this is what I really try to have my art do to the viewer. It's my desired effect on the audience, any given audience. And probably my biggest thing is that I really like having a picture done in a quality way that challenges the viewer to think. Not just, oh, that was nice, it looks really well done, oh, it's colorful. Ooh. I want to actually have a concept many times, and you might not always know the concept if you actually don't. I have actually literature and some write-ups. Some are a lot longer than others, some are very simple. But that's what the pieces of paper are down here for most of the work. There's an intention, there's a concept behind almost all of these. And my artwork, I really like the delivery of having the viewer kind of think as a result, walk away from my artwork and not just forget it, but be thinking about the concept, the idea that it represents. And some of it, I mean, there's probably about half of this, that concept might have a Christian religious theme to it, but it might also, it'll become obvious when I kind of walk through these pieces. I really, on almost all of the work, there's a definite kind of deeper meaning than just the piece of artwork by itself. So, making people think, probably my biggest kind of philosophy approach. I think I probably am influenced by questions on human morality and just kind of good and evil, bad and wrong, this dynamic that apparently exists in the world. And I think that that's probably pretty evident in a decent amount of my work. It's not all, but that does come out, I think. All right. And I guess along those lines too, I try to get people to think beyond their immediate world. That's a big challenge. So like, as humans, so often, myself included in this, I'm just incredibly distracted by what's going on in my little bubble. Oh, I'm depressed. Oh, this is hard. You know, whatever's happening. It becomes so consuming for me that sometimes I gotta step out and realize there's 7 billion people on the face of the earth now. It's like there's so much more going on than just my little world. And I actually really am challenged personally as an artist. I believe art, when done in a challenging way to the viewer, can have an extremely powerful impact on getting a person to think outside of their little bubble of what's going on with them. And I actually see this happening all the time with my students. So often, middle school students, individuals that I work with on a daily basis, are just so consumed with the stresses that are going on in their life, and they're just a middle school student, and yet it's incredibly disturbing. And I don't mean to take this to a really depressing level, but it's so often I see just tremendous percentages of my students turning to drugs, suicide attempts, sudden eating disorders, mutilation things, cutting, and it's entering gangs and just violence, and they're so fixated on just the challenges, the negatives of what's going on in their life, they can't see out of it. And I think art has a very powerful thing where you have a really interesting picture in front of someone and it makes them think sometimes. And especially if the individual finds out the message maybe behind it, it makes them think maybe even that much deeper. And that's really a desired goal that I have with my art. I guess that's probably it. My last thing is, well, it's not it. I'm going to try to walk you through a number of these pieces. In no particular order. I'll save this one to my left, your right, for last. This was my, you could call it my culminating final piece for this last class of my master's thesis. It took forever. I just look at this and I get tired thinking how much time. It's all right if you can see it. I had some help right there. So I guess I'll maybe with that in mind, how do I have time? Can I just kind of walk it briefly give people? Okay. So I guess I'll start over here and I'll work my way to that final piece. So the first piece over here, and this is actually really unique. It's done in an impressionistic style. The title of it is called Wind, and it's actually the only one of its kind up here where my default style, I actually didn't mention this before, is many times a very high detail. I wouldn't consider myself a realism artist, even though you can a lot of times identify things that I'm drawing, so in that sense it's realism. But so often I default to kind of that high detail, it's kind of meticulous, real time-consuming, methodical approach to doing art that I've discovered with myself, and it's been really powerful for me, that if I change my style up, when I'm just getting real mentally fatigued, it has this real rejuvenating effect. And I've defaulted to an attempt. By no means do I consider myself an impressionistic artist, but I have attempted to paint this piece in an impressionistic style, showing movement, brush strokes, intentionally. And it's really interesting when I can identify that I'm wanting to blend the colors more and create this more detailed work, and I force myself to not go there. I force myself to leave full dabs of color and to create those fluid brush strokes, showing the motion, all that stuff. And that's actually, it's a one of a kind up here. I've done a number of these, and they've just been incredibly powerful for me. But I intentionally brought that to kind of share that with you guys. And I guess those of you that are artists, if you haven't experienced something like that, and I don't know how all of you guys work, but I found that concept of forcing myself to transition away from, at times, not giving it up totally, but transitioning away from your default way of doing art periodically and doing something different, incredibly refreshing and just really powerful. And I realized I have almost a whole nother kind of world of art opening up for me that I haven't really explored. It's just really fun knowing that I have that. I guess the symbolism in that was, and I intentionally had, so that there wasn't actually religious obvious imagery being portrayed, but I heard a message on the Holy Spirit, and as a Christian, there's some Christians who are just really stagnant in their faith, they're just sitting dormant, and the pastor made the point, he's like, as someone who's not choosing to believe in God and the power of the Holy Spirit blowing into their life, pushing them forward into new things in their life. And then the pastor kind of likened this analogy to a sailing ship. And if you're an active Christian seeking the move of God in your life, you raise your sail to catch the Holy Spirit who pushes you through life. Don't be a Christian with the down sail, just bobbing aimlessly in the ocean. And that was kind of the idea that was kicking around in my mind when I started that one. And it's really cool. It's like, I think I did that piece, if I added all the time of the sketch, everything took me maybe 3 days to do, and not full days, like maybe an hour or 2 hours maybe at most, so like a total like maybe 6 hours on that one. And so it's nothing compared to this one. But